Hey everybody, it's William Jones. I'm the founder of Jewelry Sales Academy, Jewel Link, and Count Retail. On top of that, I help run 7 retail locations for our family business. And I like to say that at first, not because of like the credentials or anything, because that's always aggravating me, but to let you know that what I'm about to talk about has been more trial and error and more mistakes and learning from those mistakes from not just myself, but from my family and generations before me as well, and trying to do the best I can to learn through these smart. So one of the things that we do at the Academy, we get a lot of questions about is training in January, because January is a different time, because a lot of times this is when we have time to recruit, we have time to train. We're going through here, we're setting our New Year's resolutions, and we're wanting to get set up for 2025 and do something about our sales. Let's talk about that. Let's go to the first thing first, is that a lot of people reach out and they say, hey, I'm wanting to start training, or I'm wanting to hire a new person. So let's go through hiring a new person and what that brings to a sales floor. Now, when we're going through and we're talking about hiring a new person, we're wanting to bring somebody onto the floor, I always like to think about, and the things that I've seen is really, how do we make that work in the best way possible? Now, I'm going to lay out a situation what I've seen over my lifetime and what we did for years and years and years. And I kind of like to call it like the tough it out scenario. And the tough it out scenario is this, is that we take a new hire, we hire them in January, we hire them any time of the year, and we take that person and we say, hey, this is a great business, this is a commission-based business, this is a emotional business, etc. Whatever you're using to sell that person on becoming a sales associate in your company, we put them into that business, and then we say, all right, let's start. So let's think about that, because that's what most businesses do. When you take somebody and you're putting them out there, what is the first thing that they're thinking about? They're thinking about making sales. So you've taken a person, you've put them in a situation to win or to do well in their job. They have to sell a lot. Now, let's think about how they sell a lot. So how typically like a new hire is going to go out there and sell when you're doing that sink or swim method is they've got to go work the front door. And what happens when they work the front door? Well, what happens with a newer associate in general? There are a few things. Typically, and this whiteboard's more for me than anything else because I know it's hard to read because my handwriting's terrible and there might be a glare, but typically newer people have low average ticket. All right, so the average item that they sell is going to be lower, and they have low closing. All right, so let's say that we've taken our sales floor. We've got 5 people. We've got 4 people who've been with us for years, and we've got 1 newer person. And we're telling this newer person, hey, go out there and sell, sink or swim, and let's go through there. But this person has a lower average ticket, and they have a lower closing percentage on there as well, too. So that person, to create those sales or to sell something in general, because they have a lower closing percentage to sell something, what do they have to do? Well, they have to wait on more people, okay? So they're having to deal with more traffic, and if they're gold at a certain amount compared to another person on your sales team who's been there for a longer time, and they have a lower average ticket, they're going to have to sell more items. So what does this mean if we're trying to get somebody to reach a goal here? Like their first goal, their main objective is to hit their sales goal, sink or swim. They have to meet with the most amount of clients, and they have the lowest average ticket. So this creates a situation in our business where you hear it a lot where people say, we're practicing on our customers. All right, so this person is then going to go out there and get frustrated because they have a lower closing ratio in general. Because, you know, think about this, and we talk about this all the time, is that newer customers, whether it's to a business or to an associate, are the hardest people to close because they're not customers to you until they purchase. They don't have a set sense of your post-sale service, your warranty, how you're going to treat them, the price integrity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They might even be shopping around and doing that. So newer customers to a business or even to an individual are harder to close. Now, if I have low closing, what is the biggest lever I can pull to try and help me close a sale right then? Well, it's either purposely showing lower priced items, because price is a big thing in the business, or it's offering discounts or doing something like that in general. So think about that. If this person wants to reach this goal, they have a low closing percentage, they're having to wait on more and more people within your business, they have a lower average ticket, so they're going to be selling less, and to try and hit this goal, they're purposely going to be showing lower price items and maybe even discounting these on there to try and hit that goal. Are these things really helping your business? And the answer to that is really no. Because what we see a lot in this sink or swim method is we have a low rate of transfer over to a longer term employee. And what I mean by this is like there's a lot of sports, there's a lot of businesses and job descriptions that go through that the percentage of you hiring and training somebody in this method to get them to a 3 to 5 year employee that's profitable, that has great ROI, and that helps build your customer base is a very low percentage. And so let's think about, in turn, in general, is like, what does a really good sales associate look like? Well, it's almost the complete opposite of this. A great sales associate has a high average ticket. All right. They have high closing, and they can hit their goal. Now, in jewelry, how do we do that? Well, an existing sales associate, a sales associate that's been with you for 3 to 5 years, recognizes a few things. And if you put these two people together, because this person has a higher closing ratio than this person does not have to work the door as much. And why is that? Is because subconsciously, people who have been with your company longer realize that an existing customer is worth exponentially more from a margin revenue standpoint than a newer customer is. So this person who's been with you for years ends up subconsciously spending the majority of their time working with existing customers. Now, this is the big variable right here that's different between a newer hire and an existing hire, is their access to this, existing customers and relationships. Because if we want to get somebody with a higher average ticket and a higher closing percentage, we've got to get somebody working with existing customers. There's just no way that goes to that. Even if you've hired, we've had in the past where we've had people come from the top companies in the world and then come into our business, and we've had managers frustrated because of the fact that you've got this highly skilled individual, but it still takes time for them to come in. And what I mean by that is this, is that think about this, is if you use the Edge, you go through there, you run your top 100 customers, all right? Typically what we see in a store is anywhere from, I don't know, like 25 to 60% of a store's volume comes from their top 100 customers. And that is what this person sees right there. If you'll run that top 100 customer report by any associate, you'll see that their top 50 or even less customers generate more than half of their revenue through there. So this person's already starting without access to existing customers. So the real question here is, if this sink or swim model does not translate at a high percentage to create this high average ticket, high closing, clienteling type person, what do we need to do in January, whether it's a newer hire that we've had over this last year, or it's somebody that we've just hired in the business to get them to here? Well, the first thing is understanding what these things really build and what traits we're trying to build out of this person. So we're trying to build somebody who, let's go in reverse of this. Existing customers are what we want this person to access and what the habits we want to build on this. So here's my question to you. Is that this is what we're trying to get, is a relationship with existing customers for this newer hired person? Why would we have them work in the door? There's no reason for that. And a lot of business owners, a lot of managers go, well, what do you mean? I've only got so many salespeople. There's no way I want this person out there and I want them selling. But think about it this way. If that person that's out there selling has a low closing and low average ticket and is just trying to make their goal just to perform at their job, is that really benefiting your company? And I want to take you to something that I did years ago, and it's kind of crazy, but I went through there and actually watched our cameras. This is actually how Count Retail came out, was because I watched our cameras and I wanted to see where our bridal traffic was coming from. Because these higher end sellers don't have to work the door as much to make their money. What ends up happening, what happened with our bridal, is that over 70% of our bridal was being worked with by newer associates because they're at the door the most. And these people are the least apt to team sell. They show the lowest, they have the lowest closing percentage. This is a real situation and a problem right here. So what we ended up finding out was that we had to pair these people together. And you're still wanting door coverage, okay? There's no doubt about that. We never want to create a situation where we tell people we're not wanting door coverage, because door coverage really guards our experience. That's where our reviews come from. That's where our referrals, experience, all of our newer customers and our newer growth comes from there. But being able to integrate these two together makes all the difference in the world. So if I'm wanting this person to take this and I'm not wanting to do the sink or swim method, the first thing is I want this person to have the traits or the desire or even the direction to, hey, we've got to do existing customers. So the first thing I want this person to be able to do is to do really good at thank you notes, doing really good at follow-up, doing really good at repair follow-up, understanding the different processes that you have to have for that. And so my question to you is that, or what I would be doing right here, what we're working on through here in January is newer hires going to come through here. They're going to get a list of customers. This list of customers can be anything from repair customers that picked up a repair 6 months ago to customers that have not shopped with us in 3 years but have spent X amount of dollars. And they're going to go through there and they're going to write a certain amount of thank you notes. They're going to do a certain amount of follow-up on repairs. They're going to do something on there. The next thing is I want to pair this person, this B player, maybe even a C player, with an A player here. And especially in January, this is great because think about this. If you're commission-based or bonus-based, this is the time in January the majority of your salespeople are kind of laxed. They've got their biggest paychecks coming. They've got this difference in here, and they're almost even afraid of returns, so they're not performing at how they would for the rest of the year. So if I was just focused in January, what I'm going to create here is I'm going to create where a B player goes through there. Even if they work the front door, they've got to have an A player with them. Now, what this does, it gets this person engaged in newer customer sales, working door traffic, which always works better because they have a higher average ticket and higher closing. And what happens here is it trains this person to team sell as well. And so it builds that relationship where this person's building this expectations of, hey, I've got to work with a team and I've got to do this. And the biggest difference here, and the biggest difference we ever see in training or how quickly somebody comes online or gets to this level here, is seeing somebody else do the job correctly. And think about this. If this person has these traits here, do you think they're seeing a lot of 3-carat diamonds go out on their own? No, they're not seeing big diamond tennis bracelets. They're not seeing those items go out. But if they're working with this person, they will. Because I'll tell you, one of the things, if you'll think back early into your jewelry experience, it's so crazy, is the fact that, you know, in Arkansas here, is being 20, 19, 15, whatever, how old I was, seeing a guy in overalls walk in and write a check for $50,000 for a diamond tennis bracelet. Okay. That's hard to believe. This is similar to like the 4-minute mile. Okay. Think about that. People didn't even think a human body could run a mile in less than 4 minutes. All of a sudden a guy did. And then I think in the same month, there was like 30 people do that same thing because it's the expectations that go through there. And you cannot train that. You cannot do anything on expectations besides show somebody how to do it. And once you show them how to do it, they trust it, they believe in it, and it really helps them get out of their own pocketbook. Because if you're not doing this and you're doing the sink or swim method, the only time this person's ever going to be involved in or see these larger ticket item sales is going to be a coconut. And if you're lucky enough to get a B salesperson with a coconut in the first week or two, it completely transforms their trajectory through there. So just to kind of recap this, it's really all about, if you're structuring the sales floor and you've got newer people and you're trying to train these people, is how do I build a structure that gives me the best probability of taking somebody from these traits and taking them into a higher caliber sales associate trait there. And so just think about that, is that if I'm just throwing somebody on the floor and telling them to work the door and giving them that sink or swim method, I'm teaching them that they're going to have to wait on a lot of people. I'm putting them in the most competitive environment possible because they're newer customers walking through the door and they're harder to close. I'm training them to sell on this lower average ticket. And this is one thing I always talk about, but I hadn't said it here. Think about this. I'm going to erase this real quick about even a newer associate for how a store lays out. So think about this. How does a store lay out? Well, let's go through here and let's say this is the store. These are the cases. This is the front door right here. All right. And we got cases here. We've got cases here. And we've got cases back here, cases over here, okay? Let's say that we've got this newer associate and they're standing right here and a customer walks to this front door. If they're not even comfortable and you've just thrown them out there in that sink or swim method, What are they going to do? Hey, how can I help you? Oh, I'm just looking, etc. Or I'm looking for my 25th anniversary. Hair stands up on the back of their neck. And what is the first thing a newer associate wants to do? Show a piece of jewelry. What is in the immediate zone of a person at the front door? Most of your silver fashion, most of your lower priced items. So think about that. That's where this person lives. You're creating this sink or swim method with this front door, a zone where this person almost never gets out of. And then as they spend 6 months, a year, or even 2 years with you, they get frustrated because they're just not performing at the same level. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions or you need anything whatsoever, all of these webinars are posted in Jewel Link in the group. You can check us out at jewelrysalesacademy.com. Check out Jewel Link, Count Retail, and hopefully we'll see you at some of the shows.